Hey everyone, Nathan here again. Today it is absurd being on books, these books specifically. So this video is going to be relatively short. I'm just going to go through and just basically just show all of the books that I have. I think you can't see them all clearly in these videos, especially Sling Blade. Sling Blade asked me on YouTube to make this video just showing my books in a bit more detail so you can read the titles. So this is for you, Sling Blade. Sorry it's so late. I think it's been about 2 months maybe since you asked me to do this. But better late than never. That's what I'm saying. That's my new philosophy. So yeah, the way I'm going to do this, I'm just going to take I've taken a photo of each shelf. I'm just going to stick it up so you can see all of the books clearly. And I just kind of go through the shelf and pick out books that I think are particularly good or worth reading or not worth reading. I didn't want to overdo this because I think it can be pretty boring. But if you're not interested in my comments, you can just take a look at you can just skip ahead to look at the photos. There are 12 shelves in total, and this is basically my entire book collection. If you have any suggestions or if you have any recommendations, any thoughts on any of the books that I have, stick them down below in the comments, or anything you think is worth reading on a particular topic that I don't have. Always great to hear thoughts and comments on anything really. Otherwise, I don't think I'm going to do any more talking. I'll just get straight into the books. Okay, so let's just get started with the shelf on my direct left behind me, the same level as my computer. So we've got the Kierkegaard on the left. If you're going to read Kierkegaard, you must read Concluding Unscientific Postscript. That's the text, I think. No one of Kierkegaard's texts is like his magnum opus. They're all interrelated, and each of them deals with different subjects a little bit, so you don't get everything in one hit. But that's the one that I found the most beneficial. But also Either Or. I think you have to read Either Or to really get a feel for Kierkegaard. So that's him on the left. Fear and Trembling is also good. That's also worth a read. Schopenhauer is definitely brilliant and a must read. That's one of the first philosophers I read. The World is Will and Representation, Volume 1. Volume 2 is not so great, but Volume 1 definitely very accessible, very readable. So, get into that. Nietzsche's there. There's lots of Nietzsche. I've kind of gone off him a little bit of late, but he's important to read if you're interested in existentialism. Jose Ortega y Gasset, he is also good, although basically it's just Heidegger. If you've read Heidegger, I don't think he really carries things much further than Heidegger did. So, good, but basically just the same as Heidegger. And then there's some more novelish kind of works. There's Camus, which is good. Probably my least favourite of the existentialists, though. Chekhov, Tolstoy, Dostoevsky. The Brothers Karamazov's the one for me from Dostoevsky. I really enjoyed that. And actually, Tolstoy there, you can just see it. The death of Ivan Ilyich is the short story that I really enjoyed there. It talks about death, which is a theme that Heidegger deals with as well. So I enjoyed that. Okay, so let's go above that shelf. So the shelf just above it. More existentialism material there on the left. Aping Mankind, Raymond Tallis. That is brilliant. He really takes it to the what he calls neuromania and Darwinitis, the trend in modern intellectuals to kind of try and explain everything with either neuroscience or Darwinism, and kind of over skipping what's essential about humans. And that's what I think existentialism covers. Existentialism fills in that gap as well. So aping mankind is an attack on kind of this scientific reductionism, and the way that we lose something essential when it's just purely science. So there's more existentialist material there. William Barrett, Irrational Man, was quite good, I remember that being quite good. Some Kafka, which was alright. Kant, Critique of Pure Reason. Man, that is dense. That's really tough reading. I've read it, but let me say, I won't say any more. It's a book I actually want to go back to and summarize in some detail, but just haven't had the time. But that's a dense book, but I'd like to read all of Kant's work at some stage. Voltaire was good. Ethics, and then there's some Buddhist material there, which was good, but it's a phase I've kind of grown out of, if I can say that without being too condescending. But Why Buddhism is True was a good book too, actually, to read there, by Robert Wright at the end. Didn't really agree with what he was saying, but it was good to read it and disagree with it. So let's move above that. So this is a bit more sciencey. We've got Life 3.0, Max Tegmark, which was good, not as biased as I thought it was going to be. Not as biased, not as leaning to the kind of scientific AI is everything kind of Sam Harrisy approach as I thought it was going to be, but a bit more balanced, which was good. Quantum Ontology, that's tough reading. Not a first book to read if you're interested in quantum physics. Then there's the Harari trilogy, if I can call it a trilogy, Sapiens, Homo Deus, and 21 Lessons. They were brilliant, must read, especially Sapiens and 21 Lessons, I would say. Those two are fantastic. But Homo Deus as well. As some more general kind of reading there, Atheist's Guide to Reality, Alex Rosenberg, he is like the ultimate, the anti-existentialist. He's the super reductive. Everything cashes out as atoms, and it's all determined, and nothing means anything. What I did enjoy about him was that he's the only determinist I've heard, the only scientific, the reductionist, who actually carries things to their logical conclusion. If you're going to be a determinist, nothing means anything. That's the final port of call for that school of thought. And he's the only one I've read who actually goes there. So props to him for carrying it to the logical extreme. But as to like, is it viable? I don't think so. But good to read for that, and good to read to argue with him. Galen Strawson, there were some interesting things in there, things that bother me. What else stands out there? Sam Harris on free will. Yeah, I read that. It's not a big book. It's more of an essay, really. But again, good to read just to argue with, to disagree with, I think. And important to read because he's quite important these days with his blog and his podcasts. So good to engage with him. What else do we have? Meanings of Life. not quite what I was expecting there. Meanings of Life, and maybe not what you expect looking at the title. Baumeister's what is he? A sociologist, I think. But it's not quite as. It's not really philosophy if that's what you're hoping for. John Gray, The Silence of Animals. He is also another one. It's good to read to disagree with him, but that was, yeah, I would read that and take your position based on after engaging with him. Sam Harris again, The Moral Landscape. I just can't agree with him on his calls there, but again, an important reader, an important thinker to engage with. And Kenan Malik, The Quest for a Moral Compass. I enjoyed that. I remember reading that and enjoying it, and I want to read that again. So that's a good book to read. So I'm jumping to the shelves directly behind me. You probably haven't seen this. This top shelf is cut out of most of my videos. But these are just novels, mainly there on the left. Robert Jordan. If you're interested in fantasy that's not kind of elves and gnomes and dwarves and that kind of thing, it's good. That's a great series. Very long, but definitely worth the read. And Neil Stevenson, I really liked him too. Seven Eves was my pick of his books. Coming down one, this is directly behind me. You can probably see this in every video. This is my golden shelf here. It's all Heidegger and Sartre, and everything here is readable, worth reading. I don't know how readable it is, but worth reading anyway. In particular, there, apart from to the secondary sources, Sheehan's Making Sense of Heidegger. That is a great book to read. If you read Being and Time, he brings in everything that Heidegger's written. So both Being and Time and his post-Being and Time stuff, a really good overview there. All Things Shining at the top is also great. I did a video on that. That's an excellent book to read. This is right behind me. You probably can't see this in the videos. I've read these ones. Unclay at the top is a good book, a novel, kind of light reading. John Gray again. This one not so great. I didn't love it. A Companion to Phenomenology and Existentialism. I haven't read this yet. It's there. This is the shelf of books waiting to be read. So I haven't read Mindfulness either. And A Secular Age, I've started that and it's not really going the way I thought it was going to. I don't know if I can stick it out through the whole, however many pages that is, 400 and something, I think. Phenomenological Mind, I haven't read that either, but that promises to be good. And The Consciousness Instinct was good as well. Again, this is, Gazzaniga goes in a different direction than I expected. I thought he was going to be a pretty much determinist. It's all kind of, it all plays out at the level of atoms. But he doesn't, actually, surprisingly. And that's a book I want to reread, so I'd recommend that if you're interested in that side of things. Beneath that, you won't have seen this shelf. This was from my days of atheism, and when I was tackling religion, Christianity in particular. These are all good reads, actually. These are all good books to get into. Daniel Dennett, they're breaking the spell in the middle. I'm not a fan of Dennett's. I don't find his works accessible or even interesting, really. But everything else is definitely good, is prime fodder there. The shelf below that, this is the religious side of the atheism, my atheism phase. And these are all books that kind of are more sympathetic to religion, in particular Christianity. And when I was reading these, it was with a view to criticizing them or arguing against the position. But these were the main texts that I read for Christianity, obviously in the Bible, which I don't have a copy of. So let's keep moving to the top of the shelf on my right as I'm behind me as I'm giving the videos. You probably can't see this one either in any of the videos. A New History of Western Philosophy. I haven't read all of that. That's a massive, huge undertaking by Anthony Kenny. Very detailed, kind of dry, but yeah, I'm very slowly chugging my way through that. Analects, I haven't read this one either, Confucius. I bought this when I was interested in Chinese philosophy and never really got around to it. Reasons and Persons is there. That's a very famous book. Kind of a mix of arguments, really. Also, I think not particularly, it's pretty dry to read cover to cover. And that's why I haven't done it, actually. But anyway, that's there. And Levinas is there. He was interesting. I enjoyed reading Levinas. He's a post-Heidegger. It kind of picks up from Heidegger and goes on. He's also contemporary with Sartre, but he takes it in a religious direction eventually. Not so much in Totality and Infinity, but that's the main work, and that's definitely worth reading. And the other the other two that are there, Simone de Beauvoir's in there. Those two beside him are texts kind of leading into Totality and Infinity, essays he wrote. But that's the big one. And The Ethics of Ambiguity was pretty good as well, Simone de Beauvoir. She picks up from Sartre and tries to get an ethics out of Sartrean existentialism. Definitely worth a read. Below that, just more philosophy. This is more ancient philosophy, looking at the Stoics. And that's pretty much mostly what this is, Plato and the Stoics. I really enjoyed the Stoics. I think there's some good stuff there. So my pick from here, I think, would be Epictetus. Those two green books there. Those were really good. And Marcus Aurelius, the Meditations. Those are my picks from this particular shelf. What else do we have? Let's go down. So this one is another kind of general philosophy shelf, The Idiot's Guide to Philosophy. It's not bad actually. It's a good summary, but it's a very brief look at each phase of philosophy. The pick for me from here is The History of Western Philosophy by Bertrand Russell. Less philosophy, more how the philosophers fit into the history, into our history, and like a historical guide to philosophy, basically. But very good. That's a definite must read for me. I think The Story of Philosophy was pretty good too, Will Durant. Anything else that jumps out? Not so much. The only other one there is Sophie's World, which I also really enjoyed as a introductory read. If you're just getting into philosophy, that's a good introduction to the field. And there's one final shelf which is not behind me. It's beside the video actually, which so you'll never have seen this one. Oh, I think I moved some books. Anyway, this is Consciousness and Its Place in Nature, Panpsychism in the West. Both of those were good. I find myself a little leaning towards panpsychism, and those were good discussions on that. Steven Pinker there on the left, The Better Angels of Our Nature. That's also good. Very kind of statistic dense. A little bit too much statistics for me, but it's a good reminder that, you know, things are better now than they used to be. And yeah, we've progressed, however you want to define that word, but a timely reminder that, you know, things are not as bad as the kind of hype over terrorism and things like that might suggest. Waking, dreaming, being was interesting, kind of consciousness, but with a very Buddhist slant. And self, no self was the same, very Buddhisty, but an interesting read nonetheless. David Eagleman there, he's good. I enjoyed him. He's quite accessible when it comes to neuroscience and psychology. So I'd recommend both of those books, The Brain and Incognito. Conversations on Consciousness, Susan Blackmore, that was interesting as well. Light, kind of not serious, not a kind of hardcore discussion. She just interviews different people, different neuroscientists and philosophers, I think, talking about consciousness. Consciousness Explained, steer clear of that, Dan Dennett. What can I say about that except that it doesn't explain consciousness? It's a huge book and it's really dense, and the payoff in the end is just not what you would have expected. And the books there from The Telltale Brain, Self Comes to Mind, and The Illusion of Conscious Will, they're all good. Who's in Charge as well. They're all good from a neuroscientist perspective. But it's all stuff we have to engage with. You know, you have to, if you're going to argue for free will, which I do, you have to engage with the neuroscientists and their experiments, which are, you know, you can't avoid the experiments which they claim proves that there is no free will. So all worthwhile reading and knowing about the experiments and things that they've done. And The Conscious Mind was pretty good as well, David Chalmers. Pretty dense, but also good. So those are my books and a brief commentary. Is it brief? 20 minutes? Is that brief? I hope so. Anyway, that's for you, Sling Blade. I hope that answers any questions you have. If there are any books you saw there that you thought, like I say, that you thought were particularly good or particularly bad, or books that aren't there that you think we should read, stick them down in the comments section. Otherwise, let me sign off here, and I'll catch you soon. Actually, I'm going to do a Kierkegaard series in the not too distant future, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, thanks guys, and I'm out.